Twitter Squirrel girl has turned on Bernie. Didn't that happen a while ago? The Squirrel is not the most hinged of individuals. Recently, I had the opportunity to speak to a group of courageous young people from Israel and Palestine who are working to build a better, more peaceful future.
Noor, I'm from...
My name is Yara. I'm from Khalil, Hebron, Palestine.
My name is Nofar Drukman. I'm Israeli. I live in Tel Aviv.
My name is Noor. I'm from Nablus, Palestine.
I currently live in Beersheba in the Negev region.
Truth.
I'm originally from Tehran, Angeles, the Iranian community in Los Angeles.
Holy
I'm
shit,
a Palestinian refugee living in Bethlehem. And as someone living in the West Bank, I have to endure the human rights violations caused by the Israeli occupation on a daily basis.
I feel, as a Palestinian, I'm invisible in American politics and frankly in the world.
My name is Danielle. I'm from a small village called Kfar Varburg in the southern district of Israel, fairly close to the border with the Gaza Strip. I've experienced the rocket fire shot by Hamas into Israel, and I have served in the military that was supposed to keep me safe, supposed to promise my security. But what I've learned is that no measure of force and oppression against the Palestinians, against my Palestinian friends, will ever bring peace and security to anyone in this region.
We don't really understand who are the people behind the wall. And when someone doesn't understand the person on the other side, fear is chosen over empathy.
Back then, all the news channels I could see just like terror attacks, specifically Palestinian, like the enemy from the other sides that I would never know.
We need the American people to know that we face human rights violations every day. My people, the Palestinians, civilians in the city, are under constant harassment by settlers, settler violence, home demolitions, displacements, and our children are being incarcerated by the Israeli military. I personally and my family have gone through these experiences where the army knocked down our door at 2 a.m. and tried to drag my 14-year-old brother out of the door.
I currently live in an area called the Negev or the Nakab. 2/3 of the population are Jewish and 1/3 are Arab Bedouin, many of whom identify as Palestinian. I'm protected by Iron Dome's mechanism of intercepting rockets. 100,000 citizens of unrecognized villages do not have access to the same protection.
I realized that the Western media unfortunately only talks about Palestine when the violence erupts or intensifies with Israel, but not the humiliations we endure on a daily basis.
What the fuck is wrong with this video? Sorry, that's not rhetorical. I mean, what's wrong with it? Why was Twitter Scroll angry about it? What? I'm waiting to get to the point for Twitter Squirrel accusations of Bernie Sanders being a piece of shit to manifest in some way.
As a teenager, I was radicalized by militant jingoism and theocratic fundamentalism.
There you go, guys. If you want to be hot as shit, okay, become a jihadist. Islamic fundamentalism is the secret to a bitchin' jawline. All right?
And, you know, looking back upon especially the process of transformation that I went through to become the person that I am today, you know, opening up, broadening my horizons, I would definitely see the need for education, for dialogue, for collaboration, for empathy, to combat the fear and the intolerance and the ignorance that fuels this conflict.
Oh, this bits of news footage were taken from the assassination of that journalist, right? I recognize that that hallway that we just saw. I swear to God. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is from that. Yeah. God, that was so fucked. Hey, guys, remember when Israel just fucking murked a journalist who was standing, like, just with a press jacket on, like, nowhere near any conflict? They just, like, started a scuffle a mile away so they could shoot her and be like, oh, yeah, that was probably, like, a Palestinian militant when she was shot nowhere near anything. And then they shot at people trying to help her to make sure she died. Like, they fired at her, and then as other people tried to get near her to give her first aid or pull her away from the line of fire, they fired at the ground near the other people, so she had to bleed out there on the ground. That was cool. Thanks, Israel. Great.
Is to live peacefully, which means that everyone has equal rights in our region. right
Yeah,
now
Dan, for
it's
sure.
far from the truth.
I could be arrested tomorrow if I voice an opinion that's unfavorable of the Israeli government.
In my military service, I learned Arabic and Middle Eastern studies, and by knowing the language, I also learned a lot about the Palestinians, about their daily life, their struggles, the politicians, and I think it helped me to understand better the conflict, and especially to understand.
I swear to God I went to school with this guy. I swear I recognize this guy from some time in my childhood. I have no idea. Holy shit. I'm looking at him and I'm feeling right now that I have like a school project that I need to finish or something.
To knowledge that there are people, millions of people living besides of us.
The stories that we've been telling each other, they serve to humanize and personalize the things that we're all going through as figures who are experiencing the hardships of conflict. And I think that that is the most important thing, when we are able to relate to each other as human beings and not just as mere statistics.
The New Story Leadership Program is about bringing our voices to the Capitol Hill.
I joined New Story Leadership because we need to start a new story we're in.
Here we have no hope. We're here to talk about the conflict.
My plea, because
Talk about the
don't just look at the conflict and say, what's the solution, one state or two state? Because it's bigger and greater than that.
as long as these human rights violations go unpunished and unacknowledged, then it's really hard to talk about a solution regardless of the form of the solution.
We need you to voice your support of our human rights.
What the?
Palestine will never be free as long as Israel is not safe. And Israel will never be safe as long as Palestine is not free.
What's wrong with the video? What's wrong with the video? Wait, you're putting Israelis whining about Hamas rockets in the same clip as Palestinians suffering genocide? Wait, in the same clip? What, like, in the same video? What do you mean in the same clip? Like, literally, like, they're chronologically adjacent? What? Are you out of your mind, you piece of shit scumbag? What the fuck? This video wasn't both sidesing at all. The entire video was about acknowledging the war crimes and humanitarian disasters committed by Israel and talking about how nothing... What is she like pro-apartheid? I have no idea. I genuinely have no clue what issue she takes. She's just psychotic. Well, there's always that chance. I forget, we actually talked in DMs a little while. She's an aggressive typist. She types a lot. I don't know if she's a she, by the way. I just say she, because the squirrel has eyelashes in the squirrel. I forget why she blocked me. It was over something. I forget what, though. It's probably one of my many incredibly based takes. Well, guys, it was probably over Ukraine, yeah. She's probably, like, in favor of, I don't know, Russians eating 2-year-old Ukrainian babies or something. I have to assume it's something like that. She simps so hard for Chomsky. Is it, like, it's really fucked that, like, I hold no water for Chomsky anymore. That guy has, like, annihilated his credibility in my mind. He's contributed phenomenal linguistic theory, incredible political theory, like, contributed and developed on so much shit. And now it seems like his legacy, at least in my mind and a lot of other people's minds, is going to be him repeating, like, 0 IQ RT talking points. It's really fucked. Like, it's not even like an ideological bias thing. It's also just that I think that it's like low IQ, you know? He's obviously a smart guy. He's clearly smarter than, like, the vast majority of people. But yeah, I don't know. But he was doing this shit back when he wasn't senile too. With the Yugoslav and, you know, whatever. I don't think it's just dementia. I just think it's a problem with Western lefties. Wait, link the Twitter scroll thing again. I can't reopen it in my history because I had it open on incog. So I didn't even look to see. Okay, there were more clips here. I'm sorry. I just want to see. Bernie is a morally depraved piece of shit scumbag. Okay.
Apartheid are a number of liberals who use the word apartheid to describe Israel's treatment of the Palestinians. A number of them liberals in the House who use that language. The executive director of the American Jewish Congress, who handled Jewish outreach for your campaign, has said that word, Joel Rubin, has said that using that word has increased the level of vitriol that has contributed to this anti-Semitism. Do you think those who share your view should not use that kind of language?
Well, I think we should tone down the rhetoric. I think our goal is very simple. It is to understand that what's going on in Gaza today is unsustainable. When you have 70% of the young people unemployed, when people cannot leave the community, when hospitals and wastewater plants have been destroyed, that is unsustainable. And the job of the United States is to bring people together.
Whoa, that's crazy. He's doing the thing Bernie Sanders always does, which is avoiding alarmist rhetoric and trying to prioritize rhetorically the whole, like, work together for a better cause thing, and then immediately goes on to talk about how what's being done in Gaza is unsustainable. You mean he immediately brings it back to the actual subject rather than getting hung up on the specific rhetoric being used? This was like an A+ like media response right here. This is an excellent way of responding. This is 2015. He was a presidential campaigner. Obviously, he's not going to say like, yeah, Israel, genocide, apartheid, because like you can't be a president in the US if that's a position that you hold, unfortunately. But he sold the point anyway. For this, he is a morally depraved piece of shit scumbag. And then apparently in this clip, he scolded Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. I didn't see that happen, but okay. Look at what he was saying in 2015. This is just pure Israeli propaganda of the most deranged kind imaginable.
I think, I'm sorry, the first name is? Kathy. Kathy raises something very important. Number one has...
Sorry, it's kind of hard to make him out in this clip. Even if I can understand him, I know a lot of people in chat won't be able to, and there are no subtitles. Bernie refused to say he would remove the U.S. Embassy from Jerusalem, which Trump put there, and is against international law. Again, Bernie refused to say he would respect the status quo under Obama, Clinton, Reagan. He would continue Trump's violation of international law.
You see, the problem is, listen to your own language. You're just spouting Israeli propaganda. Why are you saying Jerusalem? East Jerusalem is occupied Palestinian territory under international law. That was the ruling of the International Court of Justice in July 2004. And if you look at the goal...
Where's Bernie here? I don't see Bernie in this clip. His main foreign policy guy is Matt Duss, a soft Zionist piece of shit scumbag. What is her with this word? Who accuses leftist Palestinian critics of Israel of being anti-Semitic, and who recently wrote another range piece about tankies because they're insufficiently in favor of endless war. Oh, well, Zay Squirrel, I'm pretty sure, is in favor of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So their definition of in favor of endless war might be opposing war by standing up to Russia. It's kind of hard to say. Oh my god, why does she tweet so much? I can't go through all of this. I hate that motherfucker piece of shit cuck scumbag. Why does she keep saying scumbag? It feels like a kid swearing. It's not supposedly she's openly come out in favor of Russia. Yeah, that figures. Jesus Christ. Oh, we reached the end. Please, for the love of God, don't ever compare the cuck bitch Bernie Sanders to Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, I agree. You shouldn't compare the two, just for the opposite reason. A little mad today, I think. Oh my god, that's not Jeremy Corbyn. All British people look the same to me. Also, I wasn't responsible for these clips. Just Soy Jack Zay Squirrel. Seething. At the Giga Chad Bernie Sanders. Man, I've said this before, and I'm only saying it again now because it might piss somebody on Twitter off, but I'm kind of glad that Corbyn, lost and got giga-cucked, you know? It fucking sucks, but the fact that Corbyn is repeating Russian propaganda on the Ukraine war means that him being... If he, really think about it, you know? If you had the first major socialist victory in the entirety of the West in, 100 years or whatever, with Corbyn becoming the prime minister, and his first act as prime minister was being the only fucking person in Western hegemony to side with Russia, a fascist country, conducting an aggressive imperialist invasion, would that not reaffirm every negative stereotype everyone has ever had about leftists? That they pretend to be in favor of human rights, but they're actually like traitors who will simp for authoritarian regimes that commit human right abuses regularly? Like, that would be, like, every stereotype, which is, yeah, right there. That is, that's pretty fucked. Obviously, domestically, he would have been way better, but I wonder if he wouldn't have, like, basically prompted another fucking Red Scare. Christ. You should really see how bad they are. Squirrel blames AOC and Bernie for the proxy war with Russia. I know, well, that's what they always do, right? For people like that, everyone in the universe is responsible for what Russia does, except for Russia. It's incredibly embarrassing the case against escalating the U.S. proxy war with Russia in Congress is being led by freaks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and Rand Paul, instead of Ilhan Omar, AOC, and Bernie. I guess that's because Ilhan Omar, AOC, and Bernie are standing up for the international proletariat by defending Ukraine against imperialist aggression. Never forget Noam, agree with you, Chomsky. Oh yeah, this was a classic. Chomsky on the critical race theory hysteria. Agree with you. Screenshot, post to Twitter. Let's go. Holy fuck, she tweets so much.